Releasing the fog makes me want to catch up with the DIY chameleon guys.
Hello, DIY chameleon people out there. We have an episode today where you're going to learn something that you can DIY in your house. Mr. James Cross, what's going on over there?
Hanging on, Bill. What are you up to?
Well, you know what? I am thinking we ought to take a look at plants because that's a DIY thing that I'd be interested in.
Me too. Who could we get to do that, though?
Well, you know what? We could get Mr. Matthew Gallup on the line here because he knows something about plants. Hello, Mr. Gallup. How you doing?
Good, Matt.
Good. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
All right. Well, for those that don't know, Matthew here is a farmer. He he actually is a farmer of passion fruit, which
Yeah.
It's hard to believe we exist.
Well, I know for sure. I know it, because James and I went and we toured the farm in person, so we know it's true.
Nothing like passion fruit and chameleons. I don't know.
That's a great combo there. So, well, folks out there, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about how to create your own chameleon plants. We're going to be talking about taking cuttings and creating your own forest. Takes time, but you can do it. So, Matthew, first of all, what is taking cuttings? How does this work?
Well, I don't know. I've realized that within a year, you can basically have as many plants as you need for your chameleons if you just take time to start taking cuttings. And I'd say at least half, or if not more, of the plants that we keep in our enclosures can be rooted in water. And you can have your own plants, Ficus, the Benjamina, the Scheffleras. Schefflera's a little harder, but they can just you can have your own plants. You don't really need to buy them within about a year.
We just go to Home Depot, we grab a plant, and within a year we can have a forest?
More or less, like 15 to 20 plants off of one little one.
All right. Well,
I'm taking cuttings off of
him on here.
I take cuttings off of my cuttings now because I just have too many.
All right. Now, is this any special plant, or what plants can we get cuttings off of?
Well, what I've worked mostly with, it's the Ficus Benjamina is super easy. And it's
Bill's favorite tree.
They're interesting. They tend to hog the top of the screen. But if you keep them trimmed nicely, you can bonsai them in a sense inside your enclosure. And they do tend to go straight to the top and like just suck up all the light. But if you keep them trimmed and continue to take cuttings, you'll have all the plants you need. And it's it's unlimited basically. You can have all the ficuses. Begonias have been really good for me also. And depending on whether you're doing indoor or outdoor, then the passion fruit comes into play as another easy one, rooted in water. All these are just plain water rooting. But the maculata, the begonias, and this is a hybrid. It's called ice something or other, ice begonia. And they're just, you can see the roots. These ones, I took these ones when you guys came over about a week ago, and there's already roots growing, or 2 weeks ago, and there's already roots. This passion fruit I put in here about 3 weeks ago, and you can see the roots within just a few weeks. It's the Fredericks. These will make me money eventually. And the ficus, there's a little bit to the ficus. If you want to know, I take the cuttings and I rinse them in the sink because the milk that comes off of the sap that comes off of them, it doesn't seem to mix with they seem to rot when I just put them straight into the water. So I'll take all the cuttings, I'll clean them up kind of nice. I'll just grab a snipping off of a plant and I'll take the bottom couple leaves off, and then I'll do like a 5 or 10 or 15 of these, and I'll rinse them off in the sink and let them sit there for about 2 or 3 hours. They're still wet, they don't dry out, and that really seems to help to get them to root. They seem to rot if I put them straight into water after snipping them. Okay. So I guess they might be scarring up a tiny, or like just covering their wounds a tiny bit before, and then they root so fast that I can't even keep up with my own cuttings. I have 100 or so ones that are just not without even trying really. And the Schefflera is the other one. That's the variegated one that the umbrella plant, I guess, is more of a common name. Yeah, that one's harder. But if you have any sort of extra like coarse perlite and any sort of soil with it needs to have water go through it and drain nicely. You
Okay.
can't have it be too wet for too long. But I have rooted them in water also, but they don't always take in water. The Scheffler is a little harder. But if you do rooting hormone, put it in a well draining soil. They're easy to root also. I just bought 30 of them for a couple dollars a piece, and the guy was showing me exactly what he did, and he's like, you can do them in water if you want, but they're easier like this.
Yeah. So, folks, the reason why this is so relevant for us chameleon keepers is every single one of the plants we commonly use will outgrow our cages. These are huge things. Pothos can get to 50 feet. 50 feet long. I mean, Schefflera arbicola, the umbrella plant, I mean, that can get easily 20 feet tall.
I have some in my backyard. The Schefflera calatratus or something with they're like 40 feet tall. It's crazy.
And of course, ficus trees, 40 feet tall and stuff. Yeah. So every one of these plants is huge, which means that if you take care of them right, they will try to outgrow your enclosure, which means you need to trim them, which means you have access to a lot of cuttings that you can take advantage of and make a whole lot of little ones that can give you a lot of coverage. And so that's why we have what we have here.
This ficus, nice.
All right. Well, let's say, can you just cut anywhere? Where do you cut these plants?
It depends on the plant. The ficuses, honestly, it seems like I always like to include a node towards the bottom because you'll get a little bit of rot if
wait. Define a node.
Like the little bit, like that's a node. It's got like where the leaf grows out, where the leaf kind of grows out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so if you have like an extensive, you want to cut at a node. And it's just that's where the roots come out. If you
are you cutting that straight or at an angle?
I usually do it at an angle, but I've done angles both ways just because I always question myself when I'm doing it. I was like, how do you usually do it? And then I think it works both ways, really, especially with the ficus. But it's if you leave longer than the node, a lot of the time that part rots, and you either have to cut it off, or if a ficus, it'll go either way. But like I have my big guy right here. This is one I've just been bonsaiing, so I just will take a piece, and it's a nice piece, and I'll cut this off. And I got it. Then there's that leaf was basically a node at the bottom. I will cut it at an angle. I do that, and then I try to get a clean cut. And you got the little node at the bottom, and then I just put it. I rinse it off. I get like 15 or 20 or 30 or whatever of these, and I rinse them all off in the sink, and I let them sit there for like 2 hours or so, a couple hours. And it seems to make a difference. I don't know what I would be doing wrong, but when I put them straight into water, it doesn't work as well. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, the Ficus Benjamina, that is a kind of a primitive, barbaric plant. So let's talk about something more classy, like a pothos.
Here, we could take a begonia cutting. With the fog. I would just go right before. I just took it's crazy because these have already grown since you guys were here like 2 weeks ago, and I can just right below a node, and then it just sprouts right out so fast.
Hey Matthew.
Yeah,
that's a great shot of your back.
And I didn't realize. Yeah, well, I thought you were gonna say it was a great shot of my foggy terrarium.
Whoa!
And then what's the difference? So there's a tiny node at the bottom.
I see that, yeah.
I cut it somewhat close to the node, as close as I can, at a slight angle. And then I do the same thing with the begonias now, since it's just been what I do. I'll just wash them all off, and I let them sit in the sink for like an hour or two, a couple hours, like 2 hours, and then I just put them in the water. The begonias seem to do okay if you just put them straight in, no matter what. It's the ficus. So, the ficus really needs to sit for a minute.
You just use scissors?
I do. Yeah, and everyone says to be super sterile, and I'm never sterile with anything. Any of the cuttings, at least, they seem pretty tough.
So what's the difference between putting them in water or putting them in soil?
For most of the terrarium plants, it depends on your volume. If you're really, it depends on what you're trying to do, really. Like the passion fruit, if I was trying to do a couple hundred, I've noticed that they're easier to root in soil. It's kind of just experimenting with what you have, and most of them do water, and it's fine. But like the Schefflera, I've discovered is easier in soil.
Okay.
A well draining soil with a rooting hormone. You want to use a rooting hormone, and they will do in water. But I've had them like start to grow even in the water, and then all of a sudden just collapse and die with no roots. And then I've had them show no growth with roots, and then I can plant them and they eventually grow. But the Scheffleras seem to be more of a soil with rooting hormone, well-drained soil that you keep somewhat
So
wet.
this rooting hormone, what is this?
You buy them at any Home Depot or whatever.
And what is it?
It's a white powder that comes. It honestly looks like Repashy usually. It's in some sort of Reptical or whatever. It looks like it's like a calcium powder.
So you mix that in with your water?
No, you make your cutting, and if you're using the rooting hormone, you don't let them sit. You make your cutting, you dip, and you put into the soil immediately.
Okay.
From my experience, at least.
So what's the difference between using rooting hormone and just putting it in a water?
It's just a style of cutting. They're similar. It's the same.
Okay.
It's just which works for which plant, basically.
Okay.
So
just some plants need a little help?
Exactly. It seems like it, especially like, I don't know, the woodier plants. I'm experimenting more with like strawberry guava and stuff. And that one has been hard for me. And you can, like I said, most of it is pretty easily obtainable knowledge. If you're interested in a plant, you can figure out how to make cuttings by Googling it. But it's also fun just to kind of experiment with everything you have in all your enclosures and just take cuttings and throw them in water and see if they root. And you'd be surprised that like 90% of them just root in water. That's cool.
I tried to do that with, what is that big plant we use, Bill?
Manzanita.
No, yeah, that ain't going to happen.
Manzanita?
No, the calcicada.
Alocasia?
Yeah, alocasia. Yeah, thanks.
I don't know what that looks like. In your terrarium?
I tried to do that with just one big leaf one time.
No, that doesn't always work. You can do that with begonias.
Okay.
You can do leaf propagation with begonias. You just slice a leaf in half and like put it in soil. It's weird. I started just slicing my begonia leaves and throwing them at the bottom of my cage, and I see roots coming out. It's interesting.
Yeah, so I tried it with that big plant. I've tried it with ficus before too. My wife told me I was crazy. She said I was crazy, and it never took root. But of course, I just cut it and put it in water. So that's probably where I went south on it.
The alocasias kind of spread out, so you can break off a section. They're more of a break off a section.
Okay, so the big ball is at the bottom. You want to break off a piece?
I don't know. That's kind of how I feel with them a little bit. I don't think you can't. They don't have nodes. All the nodes are at the base.
Bottom. Yeah, it's almost like a palm tree at the bottom. Yeah. You know?
So that one, you couldn't just break off a leaf, I wouldn't think. But you would wait till it got a little bigger, and then you could break off a little section. That's what I've also noticed. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, I was just wondering, is there any special soil that you need to use? Or, soil. Is there?
With the begonias, the ficus, no. It doesn't matter. They can live. It seems like water, even just straight water, any swampy soil that I've used, everything I've used works for the Ficus Benjamina. And along with most other ficuses, I have a couple other ficuses. They seem to just grow in anything. But the begonias, they need I use ABG stuff, but they need a well draining soil, whatever it is. They rot if it's too wet. But they'll take water all day, or not all day, but they'll take water every day as long as they dry out. They're somewhat epiphytic, yeah. In a sense, they're not like orchids, but you want them to dry out a tiny bit in between waterings. And so
what's epiphytic mean?
Where it's like just stuck on something and it gets rained on and then dries out. It just lives on its own and gets all the nutrients from the water that it gets, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how do we get them to look all bushy like they look when we get them from Home Depot?
That I don't really. Just water them without overwatering. Watering without overwatering is key, and trimming them will bush them out for sure. Okay. The trimming definitely bushes them out, and because once you trim the top, they shoot out, on the sides, and then you get some of my ficus, they've been in these like this is an 18 by 18 or 12 by 12, or they're all 18 inches tall, and those ficus have been there for 5 or 6 years now. And sometimes I'll just chop the top off, and they'll just shoot out a bunch of little trees at the bottom. It's in a sense,
and
it's
I've noticed
bonsai.
Some of them are just a bunch of cuttings in there, so like they put 10 cuttings into one pot. And of course, they're growing up, and it looks all bushy, but it's really just 10 cuttings.
Oh no, totally, yeah.
And then they charge you $100.
They do that with ficus. I know, that's what's so crazy. The Scheffleras are so expensive. I'll go to a whatever store, and I'll see one for $100, and I'm like, no way, it's so crazy because it takes about 2 or 3 years to get it that big. It is time. I don't know. It takes a little time to get them that big.
So how big can we expect, say, a pothos, a spider plant, or something like, or even a ficus, to get after a year?
Even a ficus.
Okay, I have a good example. This one's about a year old. But this one is one of the kind of funny ones. I don't know. This is about a year old, and it's big enough. It's in a big pot, but no, it's just like 2 feet tall almost.
That's a year old.
I took this cutting about a year ago. Exactly. That's about how long I've been. Yeah. And
Okay.
I bet you could get it bigger if you tried faster.
How do you try to get something bigger?
How do you supercharge it?
You don't let it get dry. I sometimes, every once in a while, I'll not pay attention to my watering.
We want to give it the veiled chameleon treatment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, don't. The opposite of that. Keep it watered, basically. Water it and don't let it get too cold, and it'll.
What about light? Could you like give it light 24/7?
This one's been outside. If you wanted to, that you could boost it with light.
That won't affect it. You could be able to get it to maybe grow twice as big in one day by keeping the lights on for 24 hours.
It seems to be such a simple plant that it would grow no matter. Yeah, it would probably grow faster. But I'm not spending lights on my ficuses.
Then what about nutrients?
Me and James want monster ficus.
I know.
No nutrients.
I love big old ficuses.
That's the other thing is I don't fertilize anything. I've had some thrip problems. I've used a tiny bit of because I don't want my chameleons getting sprayed with any sort of pesticide. I'll use some not intravenous, what's it called? Systemic, like a little bit of root pesticide. I've used that just to clear everything out. Sometimes it kind of works, but
what about fish guts? I heard that stuff works really well.
Well, that's more of a fertilizer.
That's what I meant.
That'll boost it. It'll boost it, but ficuses don't need it. They grow no matter what. Ficuses are they're like a weed. You can't get rid of them once they're going. Then
let's say we've got all our plants in our enclosure for 6 months a year. Do we need to fertilize them?
It depends on the plants.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would say, sure, if you can come up with a decent, I would say definitely, if you can come up with a non-interrupt or poisonous fertilizer, might as well, yeah.
Fish guts.
Fish guts is fine. You're not putting fish guts in the bottom of your chameleon.
Well, James is. He's got fish guts, fish poo. He's putting it all down there.
I even feed my roaches fish food.
Nice.
It's just a little sprinkle. They like a variety too.
All right. Well, sir, say we take some cuttings and we put them in water. How do we do the transfer between the water and soil? Eventually, it's got to go into the soil. How do we know when that is, and how do we do it?
I have a decent example right here.
Can we go with you?
No, I'm not leaving.
No, he doesn't have the magic camera like you do.
Oh.
So we get to this point where there's lots of roots. It's cloudy. Yeah. You can see the roots. And then I have these little 6-packs.
Okay.
Then I fill these with soil and I just stick them straight into the 6-packs. And then, or you could go straight to a 1-gallon pot if you wanted. But these are like a couple weeks old, or about 2 months out of the water, I'd say. I feel like I'm talking about dart frogs. But yeah, no, these are just, I put them in 6-packs, and then these are ready to go into 1-gallon pots over at my farm. I try not to keep my plants on property. I like to keep them over with my passion fruit off property. It's just, they're easier to water, and I have them all together over there.
Is there a difference in growth rate if I put it into one of those 6-packs versus when I put it into a 1-gallon pot?
No, if you had the option, I would just go rooted straight to a 1-gallon pot if you have the room. It's just you're just saving room by putting them in 6-packs. They're just going to fill. They're just going to get root bound in these 6-packs faster. You put them straight into a 1 gallon, it'd be just fine, I'd say.
Okay. Will they grow faster if they're in the 1 gallon because they have that
area?
Eventually, yeah. Because if you have them all if you have a bunch of 6-packs, you're going to just let them sit in there for too long. So the 1 gallon, they have the room to go as fast as they want. So if you can go straight to a 1 gallon, you might as well.
Okay. Kind of like baby chameleons, everybody.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's funny.
So, all right.
I just was taking a couple. This is a funny. So I was in Santa Cruz a year ago, and I saw a passion fruit vine. It was a non-fruiting one. It was a red flower, and I just grabbed a small section. I put it in my pocket as we were walking by, and I went to the hotel. We were back at the hotel like 2 hours later, and I made cuttings off of the small bit of vine, and I have it in my backyard now. I didn't show it to you. I should have shown it to you guys. And it's all just from being on a walk in Santa Cruz. I have this cool variety of passion fruit. So you can, like, if you're out and about, you can take cuttings.
So when I'm going through Home Depot, just bring a pair of scissors.
Yeah, that's
Wait a minute.
You'll be at nurseries and they'll say propagating is stealing. I've seen signs like that. Propagation.
Really?
I've seen signs at nurseries that say don't take cuttings.
Oh my goodness.
Taking cuttings is stealing is what the signs have said.
Well, I got a cutting of a thornless blackberry.
Oh, cool! I have one.
Santa Cruz.
Oh, nice, cool. I bet that's awesome. Have you gotten blackberries off it?
I haven't gotten. Well, I've gotten a little bit of fruit, not much, but I've had it for like 10 years now.
Oh wow, nice. That's cool. But it was funny. I got that, and then there was like it said Japanese maple. Or a blooming maple. No, not Japanese maple. It's called like a blooming maple. Dean had it at his house, and I was interested when we went and visited him. And that one was another one. I got 2 plants.
Is that where the branch went from Dean's house?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
It looks like a maple leaf, but it has like a really pretty flower that kind of hangs down. And I got those in Santa Cruz too, and they rooted. He's like, I got 2 cool plants we were around the boardwalk, and like the outside of the boardwalk just had a couple plants that were just growing there, and I took a couple clippings. So like if you're out and you see something that's cool, take a clipping of it and put it in water. There's a really good chance, depending on the plant, that it could root. And if it's growing out, it depends on where you live, I guess. But if it's growing outside, it'll probably make it in your terrarium. It depends.
So let me ask this: when you take that clipping and you stick it in the water, now what do? Put it in a window? Do I put it?
Good.
It's got to have sunlight.
I don't.
What about the temperatures? Would I have to keep
I
it
put mine in a window that gets sunlight. I don't blast them with sunlight, but it gets day and night cycle with it's a decently lit sunroom. Yes, and you got to change the water every 3 or 4 days.
That's a good bit of information.
You'll rot out really quick if you don't change your water.
So it's every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, that would be best, definitely.
Okay.
And if you don't,
should I add Sprite to it?
I've heard that. I don't. I've heard sugar.
Right.
No, yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah, I'm serious.
I definitely have heard that. I've heard sodas and stuff. Yeah, for sure. But no, I don't.
Well, gosh, then we should try Mountain Dew.
You want your mutant ficus?
I mean, you want to blow them up.
Chocolate milk.
Oh, my favorite. I got a cup right here.
Oh boy. Well, so James, what plants are you going to propagate?
I think I'm gonna propagate this begonia he gave me.
Okay.
But I'm waiting for a couple more nodes.
Yeah.
And then check this thing out I just got the other day. I don't even know what it is because it didn't have a label on it. But I call it furry leaf. Ever seen this?
Oh, those are cool.
What is this, Bill?
Well, it looks kind of begonia-like.
It's got a little bit of red underneath.
I don't know. 1 second, I'll be right back. That's interesting.
It's not.
Isn't that crazy looking?
But is it? It's not a coleus, is it? No,
Yeah, I don't know what it is because it didn't have a name on it, but I couldn't walk past it, and it's really rough on the top. Really rough. The leaves are really super rough, but underneath the green, it's red. And I just couldn't pass it up. I got to find more of this. So I think I might try to propagate this.
Okay.
Do I have to have it anywhere near a male
A male what?
plant?
Well,
Propagate.
You need to, Is that like
Dude,
Watergate?
man, you're gonna get me demonetized.
You guys are too easy.
Is that like Watergate?
Propagation, baby.
What I would do is I would try breaking off a section. That almost looks like look at the base first and see if you can split it.
Okay.
And if it doesn't look like that, if it only has one stem,
it does look like it has little nodes on it.
Well, does it look like there's more? Is it clumping at the bottom, or is it a single stem?
It's single stemmy.
Okay, then don't break it off at the bottom.
See, it's real stemmy.
It's just one stem,
but I see little sections with nodes on it.
I bet that would root in water. I'd be really surprised if it didn't.
I just love it.
I got a couple.
I don't know what it's going to do, if it's going to get big or
cool.
What it's going to do. Fun. But
when Steve Hefner posted the cool butterfly plant,
I know. Wasn't that thing cool?
I've seen those. Those are on Etsy. It's every plant you could ever want is on Etsy.
Yeah.
And
so that's what I'm going to start. Thanks for giving me that bit of information.
Yeah, you should. I'm going to do a shop eventually on Etsy. Definitely. I sell passion fruit on Etsy. Gallup passion fruit. Check it out.
So what are your plans for the future? It looks like you might be starting some kind of plant business there, Matthew.
Well, yeah, that's what I'd like to. I have a few animals. I have a couple baby animals and stuff, and I'd like to do maybe some of the reptile shows and go in with a bunch of plants and a few animals. Is kind of my goal, and some insects. I gotten into some insects.
Oh, you did?
A little bit. You saw my post on the mantis. People were trying to scam me, selling me some random mantis, and they weren't orchid mantises. But luckily, I've been in the internet game for a while, so I knew instantly that it was a scam. But I got 4 cool young orchid mantises, and I have 4 more coming because the buyer was legit, and they're on eBay, and they're so cool. They're amazing.
Yeah.
So my ultimate goal is to have a bunch of plants available and take some interesting animals and insects and do some booths at some shows.
So do you think maybe you'll start doing something maybe online or something?
Well, I guess the easier.
Well, first of all, what are you going to call yourself?
That's what I don't know. That's been so hard. I've been going.
We got to know your name, or we can't pass it around.
I'm thinking Island View Exotics, but I don't know.
Island View Exotics.
This is the point where the interview turns into an interrogation,
right?
I haven't decided.
Well, here's my thing, Bill. I'm sick and tired of paying freaking Home Depot prices and nursery prices for plants. And I got this buddy named Matthew who's going to start his own little nursery thing. And he's going to give me deals.
Rick Rose from Rick Rose Reptiles just came with me to a nursery nearby that I'm friendly with. And he got 20 variegated Scheffleras in 5-gallon pots and we figured out a really good deal. So yeah, I definitely am. I'm available to sell plants. If you're interested, especially the variegated Scheffleras I have available. Definitely.
Okay.
As many as people want. I can get them pretty quick.
So where can people find you besides Matthew Gallup on Facebook?
I guess I'll have to have a listing ready. Gallup passion fruit, and that's my shop for now. We sell passion fruit, but I will be adding listings of Scheffleras and Ficuses to that for sure.
So it's an actual website?
It's Etsy.
Etsy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Etsy.
Okay.
I'm on Etsy. Gallup passion fruit. Buy passion fruit first, and then buy some Ficuses and Scheffleras. We do.
That's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to that in the future. Future.
I offered you a giant glass of passion fruit juice, and you turned it down. And I still haven't quite recovered.
I know, because I'm not a fruit loop.
Hey, I took the passion fruit.
I know you drank it. Yeah, you didn't get sick. Did you get sick?
No, I loved it. It was great.
No, it was.
I'm kind of a meat and potatoes guy. I'm not really fruity.
All right. The passion fruit's a whole nother level, though. It's beyond fruit.
I thought about it, but I didn't want to make a weird face and spit it out in front of you, so I just passed.
It's like a Sour Patch Kid.
Maybe if I'm sitting here in my living room, nobody's looking, I'd take a sippy.
You got to try it. Ease your way into it. Oh, another one that I've had success with is this gold dust. It's a really cool gold, and I just stick it, no rooting hormone, but I haven't done it in water. I've actually had zero. I have tried it in water with zero success. And but if I stick it into soil with no rooting hormone, it makes it, which is an interesting scenario.
So that's kind of like reminds me of
But this one, I've
succulents.
seen it for sale a bit for reptiles. Sometimes it's a harmonica, it's japonica something or other, but it's a gold dust Japanese plant is what people call it. And you've seen this plant before, haven't you?
I haven't.
I have, yeah.
It's done really well for me. But I do a lot of outdoor plants. So like for me, the strawberry guava outdoors and this plant, the strawberry guava kills it outside in California. And it just bushes out, and you can not water it for a couple weeks, and it loses all its leaves, and then it almost turns into like a manzanita plant at that point because it's like a smooth, and then it always sprouts back out. It always sprouts back out if you water it. So you can kind of branch it out and then water it, and it leaves out, and the strawberry guava is what I said, yeah. And when you're in Madagascar, you'll see it everywhere, but it's invasive. But it's there, and I don't know if it's great for. It's more of a bushy plant, so it's not really probably in the Parsons territory. But I do use it in my Parsons enclosures. But when I kept saying, because the first time I was there, I didn't notice it, but the second time I had it in my backyard, and I was like, strawberry guava, and everyone's making fun of me for pointing out strawberry guava everywhere. But yeah, that's another really cool plant. If you get
and I'm wondering how much ficus did you see in Madagascar?
None. But it's kind of interesting. It's a similar plant to strawberry guava. But I didn't see it in the wild, but I saw it at some of the hotels.
I'm thinking Bill Strand Forest Reserve Ficus Benjamina.
But Ficus Benjamina is just an easy growing plant that has leaves, and you can let it. That one also, I don't know. You can let it drop most of its leaves as long as you don't let it go too hard dry. It'll sprout back out.
It'll do it on its own.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. No, they're hard to kill once they're going. But if they're in indoor terrariums, they go straight to the light and they hog the screen. But if you're staying on top of it and you're taking cuttings, you can.
And that's kind of what I would do with mine. I let it get all the way to the top so it actually makes it support. And then I trim all the stuff around and leave that strong.
You can even go like 2/3 of the way down and just clip it and just let it bush out from there. It'll bush out from
I like it to. I use it as I put my branches through it, see? And then it becomes a structure without having to put a bunch of twisty
that's why that's funny on these enclosures.
Zip ties and
I'm not cutting some of them because they're holding my branches. They're yeah, exactly. But
plus, it's a great place for your chameleon to go disappear. You know, I always cut a little hole and give them a cave to go into.
Cool, for sure, yeah.
And it always seems to work out really nice especially when they're first coming home.
No, yeah, definitely.
They need that spot where they can get in and get away from everything, and you cut that little hole and let them go inside it.
Look at those fresh fruits. Boom.
Yeah, you know what I've been doing, Matthew, and I've been given the no, it's bad, but I've been using Boston ivy.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the animal. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If it's poisonous, it's poisonous, but if the animal's not crawling all over it, then it's not touching it.
Well, I've been using it for quite a few years, and I've never had any ill effects from it.
Well, it's like when people ask what kind of soil to use or if there's perlite in it, because my chameleon eats soil. I've only ever seen my chameleon like shoot at soil. I've only been keeping for like 10 or 12 or half my life or whatever, but I've almost never seen a chameleon eat soil.
I've never seen it either.
And
that one's always baffled me. Oh, put rocks in the bottom of your plants. So
I use nice soil.
I've never had it happen either.
I don't think about my soil. I just use what's good for the plant. And I've never had my chameleon like shooting at soil ever, almost never. Especially
and I always try to hand feed too. So
I mean, but just in general, I guess people, they'll crawl down and like shoot. I've seen videos of them crawling down and shooting at soil. And so people say don't use this type or that type or whatever, but I've never had that issue. Just as a side note.
Well, as far as plants, I wanted to just show this example.
Hey, there's no fog in there. What happened?
Boom! I got fog.
Bill, your machine's broken. I'll be right down, buddy.
You need to see the plant. That's the point.
Oh, okay.
The point
is, I was worried for you, man.
If you see that incredible, very nice, that's a Pachira aquatica. It's sometimes called the money tree.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
nice.
it is.
And
is that a spider plant underneath it?
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, good job, James.
Hey.
Well,
it kind of has the baobab bottom.
This is now just expanding, and it's going to take over the entire cage.
Yeah.
And so very soon, like right now, I need to go in and take a bunch of cuttings, and I can plant those cuttings. If I leave it like this, it's going to just totally cram up on the top. It's going to take all of the light. My poor spider plant down here is going to die because of lack of light. And so doing cuttings and giving it a hair. There's a baby chameleon in there. I don't want. Always watch when you close and open doors.
Well, that's why I said I probably lost like 3 Fantasticus tails when I opened up earlier. I don't think I did. I hope not.
All right.
Did you notice at the condo the spider plants on the front patio?
Yeah, we did.
Did you? Okay,
I noticed them. I don't know. Bill did.
Those are like mother plants. I have a whole spider plant colony that I can start taking.
Oh, that's cool.
From. Yeah.
I love spider plants.
Anyway.
So, all right. Well, we need to wrap this up. So, are there any final words, Matthew, for our audience?
Yeah, just start taking cuttings and put them in water, and you should have all your own plants that you need within a year. You can do it.
And give us that name one more time.
Gallup Passion Fruit on Etsy. Gallup Passion Fruit on Etsy.
Come
check out what we have to sell and everything. Yeah, mainly passion fruit. Some plants too.
All right, James. Any words of wisdom?
Yeah. Plant it.
All right. Come on, everybody.